There's a couple of schools that snuck in there, but
yeah, I mean, that'll be great information to know. And I know I'm assuming you kind of keep tabs on everybody, right? So
yeah, I do.
We've
Are you already in record mode, like you said?
yes.
Oh, okay, sweet.
Yeah,
Nice.
so we've had guests on that kind of are specific to a certain area. Like we last week we had an LSU beat writer on, so it'd be nice to kind of get the national picture of what's going on, especially with some of the, I guess, emphasis on kind of both my dad and I did not realize that they ranked transfer recruiting classes separate from the actual high school recruiting class. So it was kind of interesting for us to see kind of like USC being highly rated there, but then, overall not so high. Cause I mean, how many guys did they sign? Maybe I feel like it was only like 8 or something like that.
Yeah, and I think the reason they don't rank them together is because the transfers are from 3 different classes. So it's not like the class of 2022. A lot of them are from 2018, 2019, 2020, or 2021. And so it's like you can't really put those kind of guys into the same 2022 class. So you have to do it separately.
No, that totally makes sense. And, just for some other things, I'm always interested to kind of see what people think about TCU in particular. just because. Well, yeah, I mean, I've had this conversation with one of my buddies many times about how SMU kind of over the years has seemed like they've been recruiting a bit better than TCU, even not being invited to the big conference to sit at the big kids table like everybody else. And then they steal their coach and their recruiting class gets a little bit better.
I just finished writing about TCU, and I've got them number 46 in the country, so it's not too bad because SMU did not make the top 50.
Where do you have SMU at this point?
They're probably around 60 or so. Again, a lot of schools are relying on transfers. They happen. A lot of them don't take transfers until after signing day, is not to scare the high school kids away, which is not a real good way to do it because it's sort of trickery. But they don't want to announce. Now you've seen a lot of the guys announcing for schools transfer-wise as soon as signing day was over last week.
Oh, well.
Yeah, this will be interesting. I think it's going to be good because we did have another guy on last week who kind of gave us the preemptive on what he thought might happen. And so I guess some of it, I don't want to say if it came true or not, but it's really interesting. So we do appreciate you for coming along.
My pleasure.
If we keep you for about 30 minutes, that'd be great.
Yeah.
And JT will stay on. JT and I'll actually end up calling in because I'm going to be traveling. I got to jump in the car, but we're going to talk a little bit about the Pro Bowl and how terrible it was because they weren't tackling.
You know what? I saw that too, and I thought it was maybe a joke, but it was actually true. So, I saw the one thing. They're all like goofing around with each other. It almost looked like playground guys just having fun. It was no longer a Pro Bowl.
This is exactly what happened. So we do appreciate it, and we're going to go ahead and jump into this thing and get going.
Right.
Yeah, we're 1 minute in. So you wanna roll the intro?
Let's roll it, baby. Well, it's another great day. I know you guys got to hear us a little bit. For those y'all that jumped in a little bit early, you're hearing what we were talking about. It's kind of cool, man, the things that we're able to do together as a family, and then to have great guests into the show too. But we wanted to make sure that we continue to talk about the recruiting world. So last week, if you haven't listened to it, make sure you go back to the podcast or to our YouTube channel, Teague's Take podcast page, and look at the precursor that Patrick Kahn gave us last week. And so we're bringing on another heavy hitter this week. He has been on the show once before. He's actually recruited out here at JP2, the office that I'm sitting in today. We've got a big rivalry game going on against Bishop Lynch right now with our boys basketball. But this gentleman, man, he has the Lemming Report. He's nationally known. He's always on national television doing things. He's been around the best athletes, in the country, being able to rank them and rank recruiting classes. So we're really interested in having him on just to hear what he has to say, particularly when we got to talk about Alabama and the SEC a little bit, even though he's got some really good things to share about others. So why don't we go ahead and bring JT, the co-host of the show, and of course, as I always say, he's the analytical one. And man, if you didn't see some of the background work that he did here for a minute, this was like a work of art. This kind of stuff he's doing, moving things around on the screen, people putting people in boxes, finding sound and all this kind of stuff. Man, he's good. I just get to be the face. I know I'm the pretty face, Tom. I'm the pretty face of the show. And then there's you two. Tom, thank you guys very much. Thank you, sir, for coming on, spending a little bit of time with us.
No, my pleasure, George.
Yeah, it looks like, JT was like my IT guy. And then you had someone helping you a little bit earlier to make
Kathy. Yeah. So, I'm not real good at all this either.
Yeah, me either. I forget the link, and it's pretty easy for me.
I know. It's just, I can't say it out loud for people to know what it is, but I mean, as many times as I said it, this is easy.
It's part of the concussion lawsuit, son. I gotta forget a few things.
Nah, you're just uncoachable.
Yeah. So, Tom, let's go ahead and get into it, man, because I know we're limited on your time, and you and JT were talking about it a little bit earlier before the official show started. But what did you think was the biggest surprise out of all of this?
First early on it was Travis Hunter, the number one player in the country, going to play for Deion Sanders at Jackson State after being committed to Florida State for over a year. When I saw him a year and a half ago, he was already committed to Florida State as a sophomore. Stayed that way right up till after his senior year, but Deion was able to lure him away, and it's a massive catch for Jackson State. And for Deion, the irony of all this is that Deion played for Florida State. Someday he may be the head coach of Florida State, but right now the Seminole fans are upset because he was going to be the great next corner in Tallahassee, and now he's heading over to Jackson, Mississippi. So they're going to have to deal with it right now, and it's a big catch for Deion.
So how do you do it? How do you think he did it? I mean, how he picked this kid? How does that happen? I think
it's the NIL, the name, image, and likeness thing, because he's got some people helping out. But also, Deion himself is very persuasive, especially with a cornerback committed to Florida State. And Deion, I think, is an excellent recruiter. He's able to get him. So it's a massive catch. He's not the only guy. He's got a couple other guys coming also. So Jackson State's really starting to get things going, and I think Deion, he wants to build it there, but I think he's building such a brand as a coach that he may wind up at Florida State sooner than later, or one of the other major schools.
If he keeps stealing people, you think they'll hire him if he keeps plucking off their own players?
Yeah, I think so.
You think so, right? Because they don't want to get the players stolen.
Doing it legally, which he is. They're thinking he's a great recruiter. So I think it's going to help build his name as a coach because, recruiting's half the game. Nick Saban's a great coach, but he's also a fantastic recruiter. I've known Nick for 40 years. I knew him at Michigan State. No, never won a national title there because they didn't have the great players. He recruited well, but then he gets to LSU where you can get great players because everyone in the state of Louisiana normally wants to go to LSU if things are done right. And at Alabama, it's a little more difficult, but he was able to get the guys in recruit nationally because of his work ethic and his perseverance and his personality when it comes to recruiting. He did a fantastic job, and I think that's got a lot to do. And I think Deion's got that same. Well, you saw that commercial. I think it's Aflac with Nick and Deion going together. They have similar personalities when it comes to recruiting and a philosophy of talking to kids.
Well, I think he's found a way to get some money down there to help him recruit. I'm saying that in the sense of NILs. He's got some pretty big sponsors down there, so you never know how it's going to turn out. And whether or not the other schools, the HBC schools, can keep up, or does he become just like this,
Powerhouse.
mega powerhouse? And
yeah. Well, the other story,
he gets stolen before then, right? I mean, he's not going to be there enough time.
No, I think he'll leave if he gets a massive offer from another Southeast Conference school or Florida State or schools like that. I think that was his goal because he applied for the job before at Florida State, and they said, well, he didn't have any coaching experience, and now he'll have that experience. So if they don't do that well over the next couple of years, I think Dan will be the next guy they're going to point to as the head coach.
Okay, all right. Well, you know what I'm interested in? I think and maybe JT's interested. I don't know. And both of you guys could tell me about the Texas A&M and the rant that coach had. Is he on to something? Shouldn't he just be happy that he's got the #1 class? And
a lot of people are pointing fingers at Jimbo Fisher, saying it's more than just this. No one has any proof. But Lane Kiffin had said some things and a lot of other people. So he got mad because no one's ever seen a class like this where he got unbelievably amount of great players. I've never seen it. I've been doing it 43 years. I've never seen anybody get that many great players. They go into the inner city in Philadelphia and they pull out a kid who's never left Philadelphia and he goes to College Station. I've been to College Station. It's not a kind of place where people from the big cities up north want to go to, but he's a great player. And all of a sudden he turns down Penn State, Ohio State, Maryland, and he goes to Texas A&M. So everybody's pointing fingers, but no one has any proof.
I say, well, who was he talking about? Because he didn't really say names. He just said other SEC.
Oh, he's talking about Lane Kiffin.
Yeah, Lane had said things.
Oh, okay. Well,
but Lane always says things.
Yeah, I mean that's what he does. He likes to try to get under people's skin.
He likes to get. He's like a burr under the saddle. He always gets. He always got Nick irritated. Also.
Yeah, well, he's very entertaining. He's always putting something on Twitter or anything. He's Lane.
He's a good Twitter follow. So is Mike Leach.
Mike's a good friend of mine. Mike is just a great coach. If he ever zeroed in on recruiting the way Nick does or Lane does, Mississippi State could be really a force to reckon with because remember when he was at Texas Tech and Washington State, no one ever heard of those quarterbacks he developed into. One guy, the guy who was at WSU with the beard, came in second in the Heisman, and no one wanted him. It's amazing how he can really develop quarterbacks, develop great offensive players, and he needs a defense coordinator that can recruit great players, and then he'll be on his way.
Well, how many years has this been for him now? I know he's your buddy and your friend. But
2, right? This is the second.
Yeah,
second
year.
He just completed a second year?
Yeah.
I mean,
he had a winning record. He went to the bowl game, but he doesn't have the great players like Alabama, Georgia, LSU, Florida, Ole Miss, even Ole Miss. And that's what I'm saying. If he got the players that they got, I think Mississippi State could be dangerous.
Dude, have you taken a trip to Starksville?
I was just there twice. I filmed with him on my show, Coach, and I filmed with him in Starkville. You're right. There's not much there.
Stark Vegas.
Talking about Texas A&M and where they're at. God,
I know.
Mississippi State, man.
They have more horses and cows than people there in Starkville. I think
that's why they read them cowbells all the time. Anyway, ain't nothing out there. Shoot, well, that's the one trip that we didn't take a plane to because it was right up the road.
Yeah, it was like 2 hours from. That's about it.
Not even that far. I don't
wow.
think.
Because normally I would do a thing at Mississippi State under Dan Mullen. I'd have all the top kids meet in Starkville because they all wanted to see the Alabama game. So every other year I'd do it in Starkville, and then I'd stay for a little bit, and then I'd take off in my car and head down towards Tuscaloosa. And I stayed at the Holiday Inn Express in Tuscaloosa every year. I do that every other year. So,
well, how do you think about those battles out here? Because me and JT are both out here in Texas, and I know he was talking about TCU, SMU. How does this really fit with Texas? And I don't know how they did.
They did very well. They were on. I think I have number. Texas numbers 5 in the country, except that they were overwhelmed by Texas A&M. So the Longhorn fans are upset because even though they had a great class, number 5 is a great finish. The A&M lapped everybody, including Alabama, for the first time ever. So that's why it's such a big story. A&M always recruited well, but never anything like this. So that's why everybody's pointing fingers and throwing things out at them. But so far, no proof.
Okay. So how did TCU do for our
46. I had them number 46. They did okay. They recruit well. SMU's, I think, going more into the transfer mode right now, but TCU did okay. The problem is now with TCU, you got Oklahoma State, LSU, Texas, all the same schools coming in and taking the great players. And TCU did have a rep 5-6 years ago, and now it's kind of slowly fading a bit, and they're struggling at this time. They did okay, finishing 46. For them, I think that's pretty good, just being in that area and also waiting for the other big schools to get their players and then leave.
So what do you have Jackson State at, Dion, them? How'd you rank them?
I would say they're probably around 74, 75, which is the highest they've ever been. I mean, they're ahead of a lot of the regular, the Power 5 schools. So they've done a real good job. Kevin Coleman, a wide receiver from St. Louis, is another player. He's gotten other top players from Mississippi. So he did a very good job. And if he can sustain it, then Jackson State will be a powerhouse where they just dominate everybody in the league.
Are there any other HBCUs even close?
No, not anybody in the top 120. So that's what I mean. Jackson State's going to, like A&M's doing now, they're going to lap everybody. And with Dion, I think he didn't win it this year, but I think next year, with the kind of talent he's bringing in, he should take the conference.
So with a school like Cincinnati, do you usually see a recruiting bump this early, or do you see – like if a team that doesn't usually make the playoffs makes the playoffs, do you see that tick kind of happen a couple of years after the fact?
Yeah, I think it's a year after that, but they did okay. They finished 44th this year, which is good for Cincinnati. But I do see the bump coming now with players in Ohio, Kentucky, Indiana. All of a sudden they got Cincinnati, because I've been traveling almost every day. I just got home now. I've been traveling every day since Christmas. And then I had gone a couple weeks in October, a couple weeks in November, and I'd seen a lot of the top players for the next couple of years. And Cincinnati's name starts appearing on the questionnaires they have the kids fill out, which never happened before. So I do think they're going to get that bump next year, and they could possibly finish in the top 30, which would be remarkable for the Bearcats because they're not normally in the top 75.
Well, now there'll be a Power 5 school. That should help out a little bit, shouldn't it?
I think so, but, Cincinnati's always had the rep of being more like a MAC conference school, even though they're not. And I do think that they have that rep, and that's why they've never really had great recruiting until just now. Good coaching. Matter of fact, the assistant coach of the year is now head coach at Notre Dame. Marcus Freeman, a year ago, was named the assistant coach of the year for the country when he was at Cincinnati. He did a great job, and now just in 1 year, he's become head coach at Notre Dame, and he's doing a great job recruiting. So I think he's going to be the next great up-and-coming coach. He's only, I think, around 35. He was a member of my U.S. Army All-American game. I put him in the 2005 game, and then I had him as a captain of the East team because he seemed like he was 18 going on 30, very mature even back then. And so I could see why a guy that young would get a head coaching job at perhaps the biggest name in the country, like Notre Dame. There's a lot of pressure on them and a lot of media coverage. Even when they're not doing great, they get more media coverage than anybody else. They got NBC under the wing, and ABC and ESPN fights for their other games. So they got everything going from the two-edged sword. And the other side is, if you're not doing well, you get so much scrutiny that takes a lot of pressure, puts a lot of pressure on the head coach.
Well, and he held that class together pretty well with the late night disappearance of Brian Kelly, didn't he? I mean, that class didn't dissipate really once. And
that's because of Marcus, because he's lost almost all of his assistants. The one constant was Marcus Freeman at Notre Dame. That's what makes me think he's going to be a great one because he understands how important recruiting is. I like Brian Kelly, but he'd rather play golf than recruit. Same thing. I was doing a show once on CBS, and Rick Neuheisel was one of my co-hosts, and I was teasing him about, said, show me a coach who is a prolific golfer, and I'll show you a lousy recruiter because your hobby has to be recruiting. And our next guest was Steve Spurrier, who was like the poster boy for that. So
it seemed like he's liking the dance now.
That was kind of awkward, wasn't it? And he lost the player. I said, if you're going to embarrass yourself, you better land that guy. And that kid went somewhere else.
Yeah, I wonder what that conversation was like with his staff or wife or whatever afterwards. Like, man, I really just put myself out there like that. I'm assuming he'll never, ever do that again.
You never should have done in the first place. When you're a coach acting like that for
do you think that do you think Danny Lewis did that on purpose? Like, just knew right then he wasn't going to LSU and was like, let me just see what I can get this man to do.
He was the one that asked Kelly to come up there, so I would have figured he was going to LSU. But no, I don't think he did it on purpose. I think it was spur of the moment. He was having fun, and Kelly was trying to get a top recruit. So, it just worked out where it embarrassed Kelly, really.
Mm-hmm. Well, what about out west? All those people between UCLA, USC, all those. Is there going to be any surprises out of there?
Well, USC did great when it comes to players for next year. Lincoln Riley took all his top commits from Oklahoma and brought them to USC. A lot of them are for the 2023 class. They're going to dominate again. Lincoln Riley's a good offensive coach. USC, there's more talent concentrated in the LA area than any other part of the country because they count Riverside as part of LA, and that's a couple hours east of there. So it's a big area, and there's great talent in Southern California. And USC looks like now they're ready to start getting all the great players like they did under Pete Carroll. So they'll be a powerhouse again. And then Arizona really surprised me. They did a very good job in California landing some big-time ball players. They were the surprise team out west. Oregon was off to a good start, and then their head coach leaves for Miami, and that kind of ruins their recruiting. They had a good year, but not the top 10 class they were just about to get. So they lost players because of Mario jumping ship. Oregon doesn't seem to be able to keep their head coach, and that's a problem. There's a lot of Nike money out there when it comes to facilities and everything else, but for some reason the coaches just don't want to stay there very long.
Well, that's because maybe Nike ain't doing what Kayvon Thibodeau said Nike's doing.
That's right. Get ready tearing jobs out there. You can go out there and sell shoes.
That's right.
Big games, man. I don't know. It would be cool to play for them, though. I would like to just take a trip up there to Oregon and just look at their facilities. It has to be like.
Well, I just saw a thing a couple weeks ago. They ranked the best facility in the country. Number 1, Oregon. Number 2, Georgia. Number 3, Notre Dame. Number 4, Alabama. Number 5, Ohio State is the 5 best football facilities or sports facilities in the college football. So Oregon being number 1 against all those other teams that spend millions must be something fantastic.
I've never been inside.
You need to mark that right there because you need to mark them so we can spice this out on our little tease a little bit later because we got to do better, man. If Alabama's number 4.
No, their facilities are great too. What happens? I remember Ohio State one time. Michigan put a lot of money in facilities. Then Ohio State built that Taj Mahal. They're still number 4 or number 5 right now. But Michigan then, after a couple of years, tore everything down and built it up again. They wanted to be like Ohio State. And I was thinking, wow, all the millions spent on just because the kids go. And I do know because but Alabama, where you're from, the brochures now. A friend of mine, the girl who just my tech here, Kathy, her niece just graduated from Alabama. And when I go down there, and I know Nick, I see the brochures, and on the brochures there's pictures of good-looking girls, how many guys they put in the NFL, and they're great facilities. That's what they sell. So facilities are very big when it comes to recruiting for the players. And Alabama's got some of the best facilities around. They don't really need to improve it. There's no need. They're already getting the great ball players.
No, you're right.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't know what Oregon's facilities look like inside, but if you just go on Google Maps and just look at campus on the satellite, it looks like a very nice place. You got mountains, you got rivers, there's trees around,
a lot of rain,
and they got their practice fields it just looks like a nice place to be.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
They just can't keep their head coaches, and they have trouble sometimes bringing the great players there.
They out there chilling. Ain't none of them going to class. They just
well, I know they ain't no Bobcats when we went out to Cal, and there was not Bobcats, Mountain Lions when we were out at Cal, and they had their practice field with a chain link fence because they had Mountain Lions trying to get in. Yeah, you ain't got that kind of problem.
Yeah, that would get my attention if I see a mountain lion coming practicing football.
Hey, do you guys rank schools in the Pioneer League? JT,
no.
I just those guys. Where they at? Where they
I do the Power 5 leagues. That's about it. That's about 120 schools.
Oh man! So who was 120? Who was 120?
Well, I only ranked the top 50 because I don't like to embarrass the other 75 or 70. Well, so I only go 1 through 50. And that way you keep everybody your friend. You don't want to say, oh, yeah, Iowa did great, but they're 120th. Well,
yeah, well, that's fair.
That way they're
that's
not going to talk to me for the next few years. So
I appreciate you giving us that little tip right there on who's number 20 right there.
No, I was actually top 50, but you're right. If I ever did that, there'd be 70 schools not talking to me the next year.
Okay,
well, so who in your top 50 is your most surprising? Who is?
You know what? I'm looking at my top. I have my top 50 here. All the way through my top 20, it's not surprising, except maybe Kentucky, which I have at 13. And then Indiana at number 20 was kind of a surprise. This is their great player. He was a running back coach with the Kansas City Chiefs when they won the Super Bowl, Dylan McCullough. And he just was the running back coach of Indiana. His son is their best recruit. And guess what? He just took the job at Notre Dame as running back coach, but his son has to stay at Indiana because he already signed a letter at least for 1 year. And I thought Indiana did a great job because they've always been second cousin to Notre Dame. So is Purdue and Indiana. And they're more of a basketball school, but they've done very well the last couple of years in football. So I like the fact that Indiana, for the first time in a long, long time, finished in the top 20. So they're surprised, but everything else is fell into place. I'm looking at this team. I thought Arizona at number 22, I mentioned before, did a great job. Because you don't normally see them in the top 30 or 40. But everything else, it's always the same schools after that. And nowadays it's getting tougher for the weaker schools to do anything unless they have a surprising finish like a Cincinnati having a great 2021 season. But if they don't, the ball players normally will just head elsewhere. And I've noticed with ball players now, George, is that it's what have you done for me lately? And I remember this when I was doing the Army game. Anthony Munoz, is a great tackle. And he was the nicest guy. He always come and speak in English and Spanish for the kids, whoever talking around there. And one time there's a table behind me talking real loud while he's giving his speech. And it's indoors in the Alamo Dome. So I turn around and I say, guys, be quiet. Don't you know who that is? And they said, no. And it was a table of offensive linemen.
Oh, my God.
I said, considered maybe the greatest left tackle of all time, Anthony Munoz. And you guys don't even know you're disrespecting him by talking loud. And I remember I turned around and I said, none of you guys are going to make it to the NFL because you don't respect your sport. They all made it because they were the best players in the country. So most of them wound up in the NFL. But I brought Munoz over and they all apologized to him for talking while he was trying to make his speech. But it's funny. The point I was trying to get is these kids don't know anything past 5 years. I did a thing in Chicago in 2005 with Richard Mendenhall, who was a real good running back out of Chicago. And I was friends with Gail Sayers, and I brought Gail to be on the front cover picture with the Chicago kids. And Richard didn't know who Gail was. He's born and raised in Chicago. Gail, one of the greatest running backs of all time in Chicago. He had never heard of Gail Sayers. And I'm thinking, I told the guys, you got to know the history of your sport, especially your position. If you don't know who the greatest ones of your position are, then I don't know what's going to happen when you get among other ball players that are equally talented as you, and you don't have that ethic. You got to have not only work ethic, but you got to have knowledge of who came before you. And a lot of these guys nowadays, if it's 10 years ago, they don't know who these guys are anymore.
That's right. Hey, Tom, what? I know you have your report, and we have a lot of diehard college fans that really follow recruiting and all that kind of stuff. Why don't you tell everybody how people actually get a hold of the big thick magazine that you have that has?
Let me know. I want to get one.
I do that. I have a national TV show on CBS Sports Network, but also the magazine is called the Prep Football Report, and it got a lot of publicity last January because they were talking to Tom Brady when he was in the Super Bowl and asking him, he wasn't very good in high school. And he said, no, I was a Prep Football Report All-American. And he was. A week ago, I had lunch with John Gruden in Tampa, and he reminded me because it was I played against Billy Callahan, who was head coach of the Raiders in Nebraska and Chicago years ago. So Billy let me use the Raiders facilities when Gruden was head coach, and then when Billy became head coach. And I had all the top kids in Northern California meet in Alameda at the Raiders facilities, and John and Billy would talk to the kids for me. And one of the kids that year in the late 90s was Tom Brady, who came, and he wasn't heavily recruited. I think he was the number 2 quarterback that year that Michigan brought in as a sort of a reserve guy. So he had 3,000 yards. He had a great year. That's the reason why I brought him. But everybody thought he was too slow, non-athletic, and that he wasn't going to be able to play in college ball. So he got lucky because I think his last year, he did finally play at Michigan. And I think we could possibly, I don't know if it was Drew Henson that left or someone else. Henson took that $10 million from Steinbrenner to play baseball, or else we probably never would have heard of Tom Brady.
Yeah. Yeah.
I got stories like that. I remember Barry Sanders. There was an old coach, Francis Pay, who coached at Northwestern, a good friend of mine. And Francis was an all-pro giant tackle back in the 60s. And I would I had lunch with him one time because I was up doing the broadcast and Barry Sanders had come into the room and he said, "Hey, remember me?" And he was being sarcastic because I put him down as also a guy to watch, but not as a great player. I never say anything negative, but I didn't have him as an All-American. So I went back, when I got back to Chicago, I told Francis Pay, I said, "Geez," I said, "Barry is still upset that I didn't make an All-American in high school." And he goes, "You're upset." Or he goes, "Barry's upset." He goes, I brought him into Northwestern on an official visit with his older brother, Byron, who was a junior college running back. And he goes, "We coaches get together. We couldn't make a decision. I just finally said, let's take the bigger one, Byron, and let Barry go home with no offer." He goes home, no offer from any college. But Thurman Thomas was there as a freshman at Oklahoma State. He was already all everything as a freshman. So nobody wanted to go to Oklahoma State and sit on a bench behind Thurman Thomas. So they needed some backups. So that's why they went after Barry Sanders. And now they act like it was a great decision. We scouted him. No, they just took him because they needed depth at running. They took Barry. And same thing with Drew Brees at Purdue. Purdue now, I know Jim Chaney, offensive coordinator, goes, "We looked at guys, we did this." They took Drew Brees because they had just gotten to Purdue and they lost every other quarterback they're going after. They said, "Let's take the short guy from Purdue," which was Drew Brees, and that's how they got him. And I have a million of those stories that Kurt Warner told me his. He had a stock shelves at a grocery store to play at Northern Iowa because they wouldn't give him a scholarship. J.J. Watt they wouldn't give J.J. a scholarship. He goes to Central Michigan as a walk-on, does well, comes back to his own home state, Wisconsin. They still wouldn't give him a scholarship. So they told him to walk on to Wisconsin. He winds up being the greatest player in school history. So, I mean, there's story after story of those guys that get no respect in high school, but it's their work ethic, maybe growth. They grow a little bit more, get stronger. I know that's Terrell Owens was like that too because no one looked at him in high school. But then he gained like 4 inches and about 40 pounds and got a lot bigger. But I see a lot of examples like that every year. I listen to guys, and I'm amazed at their perseverance and how they were able to get not only to major college ball, but play in the NFL through perseverance.
JT, why do you think he had to bring up Terrell Owens?
I don't.
What was that all about? He just had to throw that one in there, right?
I thought you were just going to let it slide and just let it keep going. But
that's one of the great, that's not even a play, but it's one of the great things they show on TV all the time when you're not going to watch. But also, one of the great, I'm good friends with George Atkinson, who was the hitman for the Raiders in the 70s. They were the fastest guy in the NFL, the corner. And he was telling me stories. The greatest play in NFL history is supposed to be Franco Harris, the immaculate reception.
Yeah.
The Raiders are still upset about it because it actually bounced off Stallworth and then went to another Steeler, so that's not supposed to be legal. Tatum hit Stallworth from the back, but the ball hit Stallworth in the chest. Franco catches it. So George and the other guys are chasing him into the end zone from Three River Stadium. So then all the officials go into the Pirates dugout, and they call him the press box. And George says all the Raiders are around him and thinking they're going to reverse it because they knew it was an illegal play. And they wait and wait. And finally, the officials, they weren't asking to reverse it. They were asking for security to get them away from the Raiders. And security came and walked them back to their locker room. And that's how the greatest play was illegal, the greatest play in football history. So
I didn't even know that. I learned something today.
I've had George on my show, and Phil Filippiano and Bubba Smith, some of the old Raiders that came on, Dave Casper, Ted Hendricks. They've been on my show, and they tell a lot of those stories. And George is the best storyteller around.
Okay. Well, JT, you got anything else for him? I like I said, I'm going to have to start hitting up this road. I got a 5-hour trek to San Antonio tonight. And but
one of my favorite towns, San Antonio.
Is it? Oh, so I do have one more thing before I jump off. And this is really just a request more than anything for me to have a follow-up conversation with you later, because I know you've been to JP2 before, and you did have a couple guys out that you were interested in before. Terrence Brooks, who ended up signing with Texas.
Yeah.
Last year, I don't know if you remember when we had him out at your photo shoot. But Braxton Myers, is the guy that I would be interested in talking to you more about at some other point in time, because I know he's really moved up the ranks out here
Yeah.
uh,
Well, he
in
came
Texas.
to our photo shoot a year ago too, also, and this year, and I have him on our preseason All-American team, which will when we start up again at the end of August.
Yeah, yeah. So, that's going to be a fun one to watch just for me personally, because his dad played at Alabama, and I know he's been out to Clemson a few times, and now he's pretty much getting everybody in the whole country after him now. So it's going to be kind of that was
Yeah,
what
I'm gonna be. I was there at Christmas, right between Christmas and New Year's for a few days, but I'm coming back in April, so maybe I'll do it over at the school and have all the kids that I missed come over there for pictures and
hey,
for interviews. That'd be great.
you got my number, bro. You got my number.
I got it, Coach.
Yeah. Okay. With that, brother, we're gonna let you get some rest, and I'm gonna start to get up this road a little bit. So hopefully we'll be able to chat with you, again in the future. We'll be watching this stuff. Maybe we'll hit you up once the spring football games and stuff start all over again.
Sounds great. I'll look forward to it. Go take care. Have a good, safe drive to San Antonio.
Yes, sir. I appreciate it, man. We'll talk to you later.
Take care.
All right.
All right, and there he goes. So for those that are watching the live show, we're gonna do something a little bit different since he has to get on the road. You will just be looking at my pretty face, and he's gonna call in on the phone so that we can still have a good connection, and we're gonna talk about this Pro Bowl and kind of some thoughts around that, and I guess even what maybe what they should do about it. I mean, I thought about something. Like I said, I hadn't watched the Pro Bowl in a very long time anyway.
You ain't missed anything.
Well, I haven't missed anything in a couple of years, and I don't know. The Pro Bowl, none of the All-Star games in any sport really do anything for me, except for the way the MLS does it. That's kind of cool. And the way they do it is basically they take all of the best players in MLS and they go find a big European team to play, and they usually get beat because the European teams are way better in soccer than the MLS is. But I don't know, it's kind of a good time. But my thought was, what if you are a person that's like, all right, I'm going to give this NFL thing a shot, and somebody explains to you what the Pro Bowl is, and you turn it on, and that is your first football game you've ever watched.
Ooh.
That is why I didn't watch the video that you put out about how they need to stop televising it. But when I saw the title, I was like, that's why they need to stop televising it, because if that is somebody's first experience with the NFL, you're inclined not to just why you don't get the hype,
Yes, that's a very, very, very good point. And I could imagine if you were like overseas or any international stuff, and you're just, man, it was so bad, bro. It was so bad. So, all right, let me do this. I'm gonna go ahead and hit your phone now, I guess. And well, actually, you can see. I want to let y'all see everything I got. Let me figure out. Can you see my time? 4 hours and 5 minutes.
Yes.
That's my trek. And I don't want to be up all night trying to get down there.
Starting route to Pear Tree in San Antonio Airport.
Here we go. What, you don't
Proceed
like my
to the route.
Now is just comedy on the show. I didn't expect the GPS lady to come through as clear as she did.
Let's see. Man, did you know I got you as a favorite on my phone?
You should.
Yeah, that's just a favorite.
All right.
I'm gonna hang up.
All right.
Over here.
Can you still hear me? Oh, hold on. You're well, nobody else can. I'm just All right, give me something else. Hello? Oh,
still
here we
here.
go. There you go.
I'm still-
I just don't know how to
still-
work the board sometimes. So we got a comment from Justin Riley saying the best part of the Pro Bowl was Mac doing the gritty. That is true. Seeing Mac Jones dance in the end zone was easily the best part from what I saw from your house. That was really one of the only things that I got to see live. I say got to see. That was really the only things that I was forced to see live. But so give us a little synopsis of what you were saying in your I guess 3 to 4 minute rant that you uploaded to YouTube, that for the folks that have not seen it yet.
Yeah, so as I was watching it, it didn't take me very long to decide that I did not want to watch it anymore, just because it was so slow paced. Not even tackling. I mean, literally, I don't think anybody ever got tackled, and so it really kind of turned me off a little bit, just because it was, like a Saturday practice for it was a walkthrough with pads on. That's what it felt like. I don't know if anybody broke a sweat. And as I started to look around, try to see what other people were saying, there were other ex-pro athletes that were saying the same thing. Dion talked about it, saying how much he had pride in going to the Pro Bowl and playing in the game, and actually trying to show his skills for real, enjoying the camaraderie and all that stuff, but it was a little bit more. I think Roy Williams actually came out with a pretty strong statement as well.
Which one? The safety or the receiver?
The safety from the Cowboys, number 31. So he actually put some highlights out of when he actually blasted somebody in the game, and so he'll put that on Instagram, maybe Twitter as well. And then there were others, there were just other guys saying it. So my question really is, JT, and what I posed in the video was, is this just another deal of us old guys not really understanding the game today? Do fans really look at it the same way we look at it? Or they just want to see their guys out there? We're reliving years ago saying, man, this is how it used to be, where new players, I don't know if they really care about it like we do. They say, hey, man, I get a free trip. I'm going out to Vegas. I got to go out here for a little bit, entertain, be like Mac Jones, run all the way down the field on a non-touchdown play, do the gritty. So I don't know. Yeah, again, is it just us old guys thinking about this the wrong way?
No, most of my friend group doesn't care to watch the Pro Bowl either. I'm actually looking to see if anybody had said anything. Maybe not in my text thread, but I didn't care to watch it. I just know it's a thing that happens the week before the Super Bowl. I'm more upset that I missed like the skills challenge stuff, because I think that stuff is more fun to watch. Even just sometimes I think it's more fun than the football game anyway. Even if the football game was played live, I don't.
Oops, sorry, it's my radio.
I don't think that the football game really is that appealing anyway. Even when it was, when we were watching it on TV and they used to hold it in Hawaii, nobody in Hawaii was going actually to the game anyway. I think it's far more interesting to see these dudes doing the things like, playing dodgeball and have a passing competition with the quarterbacks, and then like players that aren't quarterbacks just out there trying to throw a football and hit the targets. I think that's a cool way to do it. Justin Riley asked, how about you take the Pro Bowl guys and have them be the coaches of the Senior Bowl, help the guys who are actually playing? I think that's an interesting idea. I think that the reason they probably don't is, one, I don't know that all those guys can actually like legitimately coach. And it's the Senior Bowl is really a scouting event for the other NFL coaches. So I think they'd probably want to keep that separate altogether anyway. But I saw some things about having the players just play a Madden tournament, which they do. They did do that. I don't know if anybody watched it, but that was kind of fun. Michael Parsons won that, just in case you were wondering. He did beat whoever it was in the tournament in Madden.
And he won the race.
And he did win the race. And I think it's probably only because I saw the race, and it's really probably only because Tyreek Hill wasn't actually running. But Nick Chubb definitely was trying to win the race, and Nick Chubb lost. So that was interesting.
Well, my thoughts are similar to what you're saying. I think everybody was more entertained in that. The challenges, I think the players gave more energy and try, I guess, in those events too, because they weren't trying to do anything in the game. Not really.
Yeah, for sure.
So,
And I think that, for some of those players, you're on a contract year, right? And you end up getting hurt in the Pro Bowl, and then like what happens after that? Because you got rolled up on in the Pro Bowl, and you're about to go into free agency. And like, what do they give you? They give you $50,000 for showing up. Like, in the grand scheme of things, that ain't a lot.
no, they can just give them the money. Well, that depends. And so I did talk about that too, because you might have other incentives in your contract. If you make your Pro Bowl, then you get an extra 200,000, 500,000, million, whatever. I don't know. But it just, the other point is with the amount of guys that don't even go now. I don't even know how many dropouts we've had. Dak didn't want to go. He didn't have a contract. He's working on rehab,
Mm-hmm.
And there's others that are just saying, hey, I don't want to play. I don't want to go. I'm not going. So now you still get the next person. Now it's always, we got more Pro Bowl guys or the new one,
Yeah, the replacements.
Yeah.
Well, and I also thought about this. You spend, as the players' union has been for a very long time, trying to whittle down the number of preseason games they play in the first place. And then all you do is really just tack on an extra game at the end, if you played well during the season. Which I don't really know what the difference is between Pro Bowl, between the Pro Bowl and just like regular preseason games. That's
Yeah, there's some. I think the timing is wrong. For one, because you're not going to get the guys that are going to the Super Bowl, like you said. It's kind of hard to get the guys that are going to free agency if they're worried about getting hurt. I got it. I think they'll all go for the challenges or be around the festivities and maybe do some other type of football.
Well, now that you said that, I was even thinking flag football, and I want to make the distinction because what people think that flag football is speaking as somebody who is going to play in a flag football tournament next weekend. Not next weekend.
You're back at it?
2
You know
weekends.
what happened last time you did?
No, it wasn't last time. I played in a couple of flag tournaments since then. But the difference is it's not 11 on 11 with flags. It's not 7 on 7 with flags. There are actually different rules that flag entertains. It's got some elements of 7 on 7, but everybody's eligible, and like the first downs are fixed, and you can block and you can rush, but you can't block with your hands. You have to block as if you're screening in basketball, and there's all kinds of different things. It's a very different game than regular football. And even for somebody who's played it many times, sometimes I still kind of forget the rules and some of the strategy when you get a first down, but you're almost to the next cone, so you just go ahead and set the ball down so that it's first and one, the next time, and on third down it's 3rd and 1, and you have to get a forward pass because there are parts on the field where you can quote unquote run the ball, but once you get close enough to things in a short yardage, you can't scramble as a QB unless somebody blitzes you and things like that. So I think that'd be kind of fun because then you could have, since it doesn't take the whole field, you could host a tournament like that, and you can have a draft per se where say, hey, we're going to take, a couple linemen and whatever, and you can platoon your guys. It can be 5-on-5, and you have a defensive squad, an offensive squad, and you can play that way so that it's still non-contact or light contact, but you don't have to bring anybody to the ground, and you're playing something that at least looks like football.
I think that would be interesting or a good option because what we're doing now is just bad.
Craig is asking, is there a Mississippi count? Yeah, so the way that rushing works in flag football is you can rush at the snap, but there's what is called the rush zone. So you have to be, I can't remember how many yards because I'm never the rusher because chasing people around that much, I'm out of shape. I can't do all that. It's somewhere between 7 and 10 yards. So you have to start 10 yards or 7 yards off the ball, and you can rush from there as soon as the ball is snapped. But if you're inside those 7 yards, you can't rush until the ball changes hands. If there's a pitch back or whatever, but there still is a 4-second count to throw the ball. So you have to get rid of the ball within 4 seconds. And most of the time what people do is they snap it to somebody and he pitches it to somebody else. And then, there is no more, throw count, if you will.
Which, by the way, sorry to interrupt, the way they're playing the game now, because the defensive linemen aren't really rushing, quarterback's holding on to the doggone ball forever. They're only throwing the ball, primarily. So, everybody's just kind of getting open. And, yeah, you can dink and dunk and find something in the doggone Pro Bowl. That was aggravating to me, too. That's why I put the tweet out. Like, they're not even going to have a pressure.
Yeah, so, it sounds like, you can at least fix that part, right, where you still got a 4-second count, just like in 707, right? You got the ref with the stopwatch, and you always get mad because you're like, oh, I know that was 4 seconds, and he holds up thing. He's like, oh, it's 3.98, 4 seconds. The play counts, and everybody gets mad. But then you can, considering that everybody's eligible, all your linemen can go out for a pass. And mind you, there's not 11 people out here. There's only there's anywhere from 5 to 8, depending on what version you play. So I'll stick to 5 because it's usually what I am playing. So you have one guy that snaps the ball and he can go out for a rush, or he can put his hands behind his back and try to block by moving his feet while there still is a rush. You can rush as many people as you want to. Somebody's going to be open, whatever. But now you're just trying to run somebody down and grab the flag rather than actually tackle somebody. So, if you have somebody like Micah Parsons, or you might not even have a Micah Parsons, right? You take a Jalen Ramsey, right? And you just say, hey, you're just going to stand here, or you might put Tyreek Hill on defense. And you say, hey, you're going to stand here. I'm going to put you 7 yards off the ball, and your job is to just chase down whoever the quarterback is. Who was the quarterback for the NFC team? I don't know. Russell Wilson. You're just going to run down Russell Wilson and try to grab his flag. And if he makes you look stupid, then you're just going to look stupid on TV.
They have Kirk Cousins in there. It can get him some.
So and you get to see him try to, then it just becomes a pocket presence drill, right? Instead of actually worrying about whether you don't have any quick whistles or anything like that because you're just trying to grab the dude's flag rather than just putting a hand on his shoulder and talking about that's a sack.
Well, I'm wondering if the NFL actually hears this, or Pro Bowl committee, whatever it is. People, and maybe it's been happening every year. Like I said, I haven't really watched it. So I do want to point this out. I'm sorry, change the subject real fast. Not change the subject, but one of the things I talked about was actually going in person. So me and Consuelo went a few years ago.
Right.
And, we got to see practice. And things. Practice is kind of one of those things. So they're not going to be back around, right? And it just kind of, whatever. It was cool to see the fans and their pictures. They were goofing off, kind of like the game was. But it was practice, so I didn't really think much about it. Then when we went to the game, it was kind of the same, right? But early in the game, I got real distracted because it was during the game is when Kobe Bryant's helicopter crashed.
Oh.
So
yeah.
we weren't even watching the game anymore. It was all, trying to figure out what's going on and all this. So I really lost that. And no one on the field actually knew, but we knew sitting up in our seats in a box that this was happening. So I didn't really have a big opinion about it then either, because I wasn't really paying attention, anymore.
Well, it's kind of weird that you said that, because I remember that morning, right? I remember what I was doing, where I was, and who texted me saying, hey, did you hear about Kobe Bryant? And one thing that I do not remember about that day was that the Pro Bowl was on. Like I was sitting at my computer before the computer was here. It used to be downstairs. So this was before Tinsley was born, right? So I'm in the old room sitting down there, and I'm watching TV because we got YouTube TV. So I'm watching TV like on my computer in the browser. And I wasn't watching the Pro Bowl. Even then I wasn't watching the Pro Bowl.
Yeah, it wasn't.
And I had forgotten that you guys had even went. I remember you sending me a picture of Jamal Adams, and now I remember like Jamal Adams jumping on the mascot and like hurting the dude and whatnot. And I was like, oh yeah, it's Pro Bowl weekend. But I still never even considered turning on to watch the Pro Bowl.
Yeah, well, don't do it anymore unless they change it. I boosted up their ratings for a little bit, and I decided that wasn't good because I didn't think they should deserve any type of ratings off of that game. So I don't know if they do it, since I never appeared in the Pro Bowl. Only had about one chance, I think, where I was up for some serious consideration to be in it. But no, I think they should have the challenges, make the night, if they don't change the way the game is, do some kind of special award ceremony for these guys. So, whatever it is, some black tie, something. Make it like the Grammys or the Emmys or, something. Let everybody come and tell stories, show videos, still can have some family interaction that way. I like a Hall of Fame. Just do that. Let everybody put it back in Hawaii or destination standpoint.
You over here talking about fixing the Pro Bowl, and I'm getting here roasted in chat for this for Emily's computer bag sitting behind me.
Well, I see you tried to hide the diploma this time.
I didn't know she worked up here today, so she put it. I tell you.
I said, look, he tried to be slick. Now he got a person for the
no. I didn't do that.
Maybe she hadn't learned anything from our parents either. Not supposed to put your purse on the floor.
Well, it's not a purse. It's actually a laptop bag. See, look, man, chat done got us all sidetracked. We supposed to be talking about the Pro Bowl, and I'm talking about a pink laptop bag over my left shoulder.
Well, you have to get you a green screen stuff next time. I that stuff behind.
I know. I'm gonna have to put filters on the camera.
Is the Chick-fil-A stuff still on the cane cup still on the desk?
Well, considering you didn't even notice, no, it's not there.
Well, I don't know. I think I like your idea of maybe playing flag football, not 7-on-7, some version of flag. I think that would be fun. It sounds like you can incorporate linemen still.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they're not relegated to just like a lineman challenge, like we do with the 7-on-7, where the lineman goes somewhere else, and that just means punters got to stop going to to Pro Bowls.
Well, they didn't punt in this game. I don't think they punted in the Pro Bowl either, though.
No, Mike Vrabel told the punter when he got to Vegas, apparently, that they weren't going to punt.
Yeah. So I think I only saw one kick on field goal or extra point or something. I don't know. Yeah, it's kind of a waste of time. But I think you can incorporate the lineman, or maybe you use the kickers in there. If you throw a touchdown to a punter or a kicker or a lineman, you get extra points.
Extra points. Ooh. I feel like you should just, they can play whatever kind of football they want to, but everybody got to play a different position. Justin says do a Legends flag football game. George can defend the star again.
Oh my God! No, it's gonna have to be a short field. Because if you want me to sprint that full 55 yards, it might pull a hamstring.
And Craig still wants my autograph, so I guess I gotta sign something and send it to Craig.
Yeah. Well, it's been entertaining. I think this is good. I just want to say before we get off, that appreciate the guys and the patience and the guys listening while I'm on the screen for half an hour, on the phone for half an hour. But got to do what I got to do. I kind of got a slap in the. I shouldn't say slap in the face, but that's not the way what it was. I was talking to Lynch, Bishop Lynch, the Robert School teacher, and we're actually talking about this going down to the swim meet. And we were all talking about, hey, we were going to carpool down after the basketball game, right? So I didn't feel really bad knowing I was going to have to make the drive. Until after the girls' game, I saw the athletic director, Bishop Lynch, said, hey, we're flying down.
Flying?
I said, what? I said, yeah, after the boys' game, we're going to get on a plane and go. And I was like, what's going on? She said, you know what? My admin team came to us and said, man, we don't feel really good about you making that drive down there, so we're going to put all of you on the plane so you can go attend the thing. I said, are you serious? I said, yeah. And so I kind of looked back at my admin team and standing back there. And it's like, all right, so I'm about to dip. They're going to stay for the rest of the game. Maybe they're not worried about my safety anymore because all I got was, well, we'll see you on Thursday when you come back to work. So here I am.
Well, two more questions. We got one from Justin that says, Did George have an NIL deal at Bama as a backup to Boys to Men because you had the haircut? And Craig Young says he still wants a coin. And I don't know if you had made that announcement about the coins. Did you? Have you decided what you were going to do with those?
No. So, first of all, let me answer back to Justin. I was priding myself a little bit more of wanting to be like Fresh Prince, Bill Air. They're out there living rich out in Hollywood. So I was rocking that kind of hairstyle a little bit. So no, I didn't have no NIL deal. So shoot, I still had to pay for my wings and things and all my food out there. And regarding the coin, I have not made that announcement yet. I know we kind of talked about it a little bit. I do have the coins now. I don't think did I tease that before?
Yeah, you teased the coin before. Probably a couple of weeks ago when we were at the bar at the Lantern. But
yeah.
I know you hadn't made any. I don't think you had made any official announcement yet. So That might be.
So here's what I'll say to the group, to the fans. You have these collectible coins that are going to have series of them, very limited numbers of coins that I will not be selling. There will be giveaways to family and to people that are close to us and support us in some type of way. Someone like Greg, always on podcasts, and every podcast that we jump onto, it seems like. And there are other people like that I'll give to. The other piece that I'm going to do is we did start a family scholarship for the University of Alabama, and that will be one way that you get the coins that is donate. It'll be tax deductible, donated to our family scholarship support student at the University of Alabama. Then I will be giving those to the few people. So like the first one, there's only going to be maybe 13 that I'm giving away. The 2021 series. The next series, I will only give away 5. So they're not going to be $50. They ain't going to be $100. It's going to cost you a little bit of money.
So I'll reiterate that just in case it was a little hard to hear on the phone. He said he's got some coins that are collectible. He's got a series of them, and that some he will be giving away to friends and family, and others he'll be giving away to people that support us in some form or fashion. He said, like Craig, for instance, who is here just about every show that he can be, and we've started a family scholarship fund for the University of Alabama, which some people who donate to that scholarship, which is tax deductible, will get those. And now you have to remind me of the numbers. You said 5 of the next series that you're giving away, and how many of this one?
13.
13. Or something like that. 13 of the current coin, which you have seen. The current coin you have seen, that's the all gold one that was showing off weeks ago when we were live on location when Ryan Fowler was the guest. And then there's a new coin of which you have not seen yet, which is also pretty dope. But apparently only 5 of those are to be allocated. So be on the lookout for those. I know there's still some other logistic things that you were wanting to work through, but that is the update on the coin, Craig.
And I appreciate him asking that. So, but I think it's been good. I'm glad that we're able to expand and do things on the fly, and I have a good time about this. So, we appreciate Mr. Tom Lemming for coming on, and I also like the chat that we had about the Pro Bowl. Made me feel better about some options. Hopefully they're listening to us.
Well, you need to start writing letters to Goodell and I don't know, as long as people stop watching it. But I mean, that's the reason they keep televising it, is because people keep watching it. So, like, at the end of the day, we can complain all we want to, but if they're still going to get 2 million eyeballs or 2 million pairs of eyeballs on it, then they're not going to stop doing it. So,
yeah, that's true.
So the best thing you can do if you want to change is stop watching it.
That's
like
right.
me, I haven't watched it in a long time. Didn't watch it this time.
Yeah, I'm worried about next year because I'll probably have to watch the first couple minutes just to see if they change.
You don't have to watch the first couple minutes. They'll have highlights on YouTube, and you can just watch Twitter, and people will either be complaining or they'll be saying it's different.
Good Lord, man! Yeah, I definitely got to get up and call now. This is my third.
Well,
I think I just added about 4 or 5 minutes on my trip.
Well, we can call it. It's been about 70 minutes. We're a minute and 50 seconds in right now. So, or a minute, or I said a minute, an hour, 9 minutes, 57 seconds.
That's not bad. That's even with the extra.
Yeah. That's with the extra at the beginning.
Cool. Okay. Well, I guess we need to let them know we will not be on Tuesday next week.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Going every other week, and we will be on Wednesdays. We'll make sure we get a graphic built and put that out so everyone kind of knows. But
hey, that's news to me. It's not news to me in the sense that you didn't tell me because you gave me all the dates. I just didn't realize all the dates were on Wednesday. So that's good to know. We are apparently moving to Wednesdays, and we'll be off next week, but we'll be back the following week with Javier Arenas. Is that true?
Yeah.
Javier Arenas
true.
will be our next guest 2 weeks from tomorrow.
Got it. So y'all stay tuned. Appreciate all the support. But JT, I'm gonna go ahead and get my eyes back on this road, concentrate so I can be there by 1 o'clock tonight.
All right. Well, be safe. I'll see you when you get back, I suppose.
Okay. Well, I don't get to throw my deuces up. You don't get to throw your paper up the screen.
I do get to throw my paper on the screen. I'm still on camera.
I guess you can do that because I'm just going to say, once again, I'm George Teague. He's James Teague. We are Teague's Take, and we will see you in 2 weeks. Peace.